if we can't really tackle the overeating, the binge eating, that's always going to be a struggle. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Pre-Diet Podcast. I'm Allie Virtue, your host, a functional medicine nutritionist and owner of Parkside Nutrition. What do I hope to accomplish with this episode? Well, the Pre-Diet Podcast is always geared towards unlearning the quote diet rules and giving you the tools to rewriting the healthy living playbook. Now, before we get into this episode, make sure that you are subscribed to the Free Ship Friday email list at parksidenutrition.com/subscribe to make sure that you get access to the exclusive subscriber library full of free resources. Every single Friday, you will get one recommended recipe, one free tip, tool, training, new podcast, new YouTube video, new downloadable, and one question for you to ponder. Now, before we get into today's topic, this topic was requested by someone who listened to the last episode. And before we get started, I wanted to just remind everybody this is not medical advice. Always talk to your medical provider before making any changes. Ask them about medications, lifestyle changes, any changes that you make for the intent of changing your health. Please talk to your provider first and make sure that is aligned with your health goals and your current medical conditions, medical history, all of that. This particular episode is just sharing my thoughts, experiences, perspectives, which I think will be surprising for a lot of people. And today we are covering my honest opinion on weight loss medications as a nutritionist. And as a nutritionist, I don't use, prescribe, or really have anything to do with those medications. Those are something that my clients determine whether that is a good fit for them between them and their medical provider. I just facilitate the lifestyle and nutrition habits that we choose to incorporate alongside their choices. So my first initial thoughts when it comes to a lot of these weight loss medications, mostly specifically GLP-1s, and my thoughts are anytime something comes out as new diet, new drug, new thing that gains popularity, I think it's really cool. People find it really cool to be against it or to try the new hot thing. And it's kind of a wide spectrum, right? There's not a whole lot of middle ground, and I kind of pride myself in being in the middle. I want to remain neutral. I want to listen. I want to learn about these new things. I really try to be curious with a degree of skepticism. I think that's where science really thrives. It's good to be skeptical of things. It's good to look at the evidence, talk to people, and just learn to start with. I don't want to immediately write something off because I don't think that's really being a responsible professional in this particular industry. And my first thought with this is it's a tool. I view it as a tool. We have a lot of chronic disease in the US. According to the CDC, this survey was taken in 2021, 2023. About 40% of our adult population who's over the age of 20 is considered obese. So 40%, over 40% of our adults, and that's pretty significant. So to tackle that type of problem, it's not one thing. It's not one thing. We need a lot of tools to address that issue, and not every approach is going to work for each person. The way I work won't click with everybody that needs better health with nutrition and lifestyle. That's just the fact of the matter. So why not have more tools available to serve more people, help more people? I wish more people did want to improve their health with nutrition, with lifestyle things. But that's just not the case. Not everyone is going to take that route. Just because someone doesn't want to tackle the problem the way that we would tackle the problem, I don't think that means that we shouldn't find a solution for them because they are still a very much part of our community. We want to, be inclusive and have multiple solutions for a problem. And that includes using pharmaceuticals. In my eyes, I just see this as another drug to use when we need it. If someone was, diagnosed with high blood pressure and we were giving them a hard time for using medications when, if we put a face to the name or someone in our family say, this is your grandmother and be like, oh, grandma, you should really address that naturally. I really don't want you to take the medications because that's the cheater way to get out of this. I don't know too many people who would say that. I think a lot of people would be fairly supportive of any lifestyle changes that that person wanted to make, that family member wanted to make. That's great. So hopefully that allows them to be here longer, higher quality of life, etc. But also if they tried lifestyle changes that was hard for them, or even if they never considered lifestyle changes and they said, yeah, I'll take the medication to help with that. I don't, that's their decision to make. So I do try to stay neutral. I work with a lot of different people and it's everybody's choice as far as like what tools they bring on board to improve their own life. Now, my experience with this, I've worked with quite a few clients that have been using these medications at the same time as working with me as a nutritionist. And many people think like, that might seem kind of redundant. Like they're doing two things to address this health issue or weight loss goal. Well, I really wish this was required because I think this is a great tool, but it should be partnered with lifestyle changes for optimum results. And that shows over and over again in the research that it should be paired with that because people do regain the weight when they stop using this medication. So I view this medication as a fantastic, kind of like training wheels for the person to really get a chance to think a little bit more objectively about their choices, about their food choices, and things like that. And so while they're using this medication that facilitates eating less, lowering our body fat percentage, lowering our overall weight, that's a great opportunity to, they'll see success, they'll get more motivated, they might get more buy-in as far as decreasing sugar cravings, eating more balanced meals and things like that. And so if we have all of those things on board and those things, those healthy habits become just so normal for them, when they reduce the medication or when they stop the medication, eventually they stay with those habits, hopefully. Sure, it might be a little bit more challenging, but that's, in my very biased opinion, is the best way to give the person the best possible chance of long-term success is utilizing a full range of tools to address the problem. Now, when I think back to a couple specific clients, number one, it's been incredibly helpful for binge eating, emotional eating, overeating, stress eating, all of those things. And if you haven't heard of this before, it's usually because it reduces food noise. Food noise is something when someone is constantly thinking about food, they might have just eaten, they're very much full, satisfied, whatever, and they're constantly thinking about food. What's my next meal going to be? What's my next snack going to be, etc. And some people don't have that. They don't think about food. It's truly an objective thing to just fuel their body. It solves hunger and they move on with their day. That's not everybody. And for me, I had a lot of trouble with overeating, binge eating, emotional eating in the past. And so I definitely think you can be successful in either scenario. I think there's multiple ways to solve a problem, whether that's with help or, quote, doing it on your own type of thing. I don't think there's a trophy for any particular route. It's just, there's lots of ways to do it. But food noise is definitely a really big challenge. So I had a client that really suffered with binge eating, and she didn't really have a ton of weight to lose per se. She wanted to lose a little bit, but that was a pretty significant thing. And even if you're just trying to lose a little bit of weight or a lot of weight, if we can't really tackle the overeating, the binge eating, that's always going to be a struggle. These medications really helped her see what that other side is like. Now, she didn't want to be on the medication forever, so she was very motivated to learn the habits that she needed to and like change the way she was eating while it was a little bit easier in that period of time to not overeat as much. And she's been thriving ever since. And so that's been really fun to see. And the things that we did were increase protein, increase fiber. This was easier to do because she was able to feel a little bit more objective about food. It wasn't quite as much of a crutch for her. She also had just a much stronger sense of satiety or fullness, and she just was able to say no to food so much more easily. And that's huge. That's really, really eye-opening and enlightening for a lot of people that have really struggled with food noise and those types of issues. I have had a client have a not quite full-on allergic reaction to it, but she's tried multiple different types of GLP-1s, and some of them she really didn't react well to. So she had to search for them a little bit. But I will also say she integrated GLP-1 medications right at the same time as doing nutrition, which I obviously a big fan. Like, this is great. We had to kind of change her mindset around things because previous dieting efforts, and I would say a lot of people have this mentality of like, I did a great job, I didn't eat much today. And when you're on these types of medications, you're really not hungry a lot. And nausea can be a side effect, and as well as other gut issues or GI upset. But it was really, we had to change the way we thought about things because they might say like, oh, I only ate, this one serving of, not great food, not fairly processed junk food. And while that might be a win in the sense of like I didn't overeat on calories, the new problem became I'm only eating 500 to 900 calories a day and it wasn't the highest quality of food. So what does that mean for our body? That means I'm not getting a lot of nutrition. I'm not getting the vitamins, the minerals, the protein, the fiber, the healthy fats, the carbohydrates to fuel my body. My body's need for food doesn't change. My appetite changes. So I think that's really, really important to remember that with every meal, we're putting basically a deposit into our savings is how I think about it, but a deposit into the bank of like, here, body, here's some nutrition, save this for later, use what you need now, etc. But when we're on these types of medications and we're just so not hungry and able to focus on other things away from food, which is great, but also that makes it that much harder to get the nutrition that we need. And I feel like this is where we're going to see a lot of things down the line of like, people not getting like potential increase of like nutrient deficiencies and things like that. So That's what I'm really cautious of. And what I really want to hit home with people who are using these medications of like, this is just a chance to really change how we're fueling our body, but we still need to fuel it, not just underfeed it. So some of the pros and cons when I think about this, pros, it lowers your appetite, it lowers your body weight, it lowers your A1C. That's how these medications came about, as they were treatments for type 2 diabetics. They improve a lot of disease markers. Some cons, the big cons that come to mind, muscle loss, because you do lose weight fairly quickly. And if we're not having a decent amount of protein intake and lifting weights to try to preserve that muscle mass, we will lose some muscle mass. So that's not great, but that comes with any kind of rapid weight loss strategy, really. It's also, I would say, hard to eat enough protein. It's just really filling. Most people, if they were to increase their protein to quote like recommended levels, recommended is by a nutritionist, not like the minimum as far as the RDA, that is pretty low and easy to achieve. But if we start increasing our protein meal to meal, it's usually too filling, especially if you're on this type of medication. So extra easy to lose muscle mass. As far as the GI upset, usually constipation, nausea is a big one. Diarrhea is one as well. Supposedly, this can kind of taper out and people can kind of get used to it as they, play around with the dosage and things like that. But I've also heard it's not appropriate for people that have family history of like medullary thyroid cancer. And there's probably a long list of other things as well. But I think nausea, muscle loss, GI upset are definitely like the top things that I hear as far as clients and people that I've met saying that they don't react too well to those types of medications. And there's research out there. I glanced at the research, but I also just wanted this to be kind of a flow of my conscious thought with things. I've had these conversations with clients, and I think they're surprised about how neutral I am about it. I've had clients come up before like, oh, you probably don't want to work with me anymore because I'm going to use this medication. I was like, no, not at all. I'm not going to, not work with someone because they're on a certain type of medication. I still have value to bring to the table as far as like the habit-based, the actions, the mindset when it comes to this kind of stuff. So it is a tool. And I want to reiterate that point because I think a lot of people will say like, oh, my doctor's just trying to throw this medication at me. Well, if we put ourselves in our doctor's shoes, I used to work for a primary care clinic, so I do want to share a little bit of that experience as well. But our doctors don't have all that long to talk to us. And if they can give us the most impact in the short amount of time, say like 15, 20 minutes, this is a great tool for them because it will help you in every minute of your next week, right? You take those injections typically weekly, and it can help every food choice within that next week. It's a really valuable tool. So when I think about it from their perspective, like they just don't get that time with you versus when I work with clients, I'm talking to them, half an hour every week. We text back and forth throughout the week. If needed, any questions that come up, I'm there. So it's a very different cadence that I'm able to work with people. That was intentional. That's why I wanted to work private practice. Because when I used to work for a primary care clinic, and it was a naturopathic clinic, so you could definitely say it was more holistic, but also I feel like they had a fantastic attitude. I would say more conventional naturopath in the sense of they had a line. So they wanted to give you all the tools to handle it naturally if you didn't want to, use medications for that specific problem. But they also drew a line in the sense of if there's damage being done to your body, saying we're walking around with blood sugar or blood pressure that is just too high, they'll say like, hey, we need to have medication on board. It's just dangerous for you to walk around like that. And so I really appreciated that very honest answer instead of just catering to everybody when they say, I don't want to take medication. That's fine. If that's the choice that that person wants to make, absolutely. But to be honest, when I was working in the clinic, I heard that a lot. And they're like, I don't want to take meds. But the follow through on the actions was slow, if not completely absent. And diet is hard. And that's why I said I work the way that I do, because I do think that people need more support to truly make those changes. It's hard. But I really appreciated her approach because she's doing her due diligence in the sense of like, this is too dangerous. This is not, we have access to tools that can lower your risk of dying from these things long term. Why would we not use them? So I really appreciated that. And the person was really motivated enough to not use the medication or really didn't jive well with the medication. Like, hopefully that was more motivation and emphasis to like really get the lifestyle stuff on board. So I really appreciated her approach with things. And this was coming from a clinic that allowed me to work with patients for 45 minutes. So I got to see them. I got to spend quite a bit of time, and then the doctor would come in 10, maybe 15 minutes for the latter part of the appointment, and then they would get to talk to them. So I felt like it was a really great model, but unfortunately, it just wasn't. Unfortunately, even if these changes are simple, they're not necessarily easy in practice. And I saw a lot of failure. And in my opinion, people just need more frequent support typically when we're trying to make these types of changes. And that's why I went full time into private practice. So hopefully this gives you a little insight into maybe a nutritionist, and I'm just one nutritionist, but one nutritionist opinion on these types of things. It's pretty neutral. I think that's annoying for some people sometimes. They wish I had a stronger opinion, but it's not my job to tell you what medications to take. That is between you and your doctors. I'm here to support you. My toolbox is food, nutrition, occasionally supplements, the lab work you do with your provider, things like that. So I use those things to modify my clients, outcomes as far as their health and hopefully get them closer to their health goals. But those are the tools that I have access to, and I feel like they work very, very well if someone needs extra support with utilizing pharmaceuticals. So hopefully that gives you an insight into just another opinion from someone who works with a lot of people and wants to see them succeed and change their health and be here for a really long time for their family. But hopefully this kind of calms down just any anxiety or angst people have around this topic. I just wish we could have good dialogue. And this is nothing against if this is not the path for you and you want to, use a natural way or do it with just lifestyle and nutrition, I'm absolutely here for it. Those tools just they give you so much no matter the route that you choose. These tools are always there for you. Lifestyle, nutrition, like we're always available. We're always doing them in some form anyway. We have to eat anyway. We have to move our bodies in some way anyway. We have to sleep. We have to do all those things. It's just the degree and the details that change, whether we want those habits to work towards optimal health, if they are negatively impacting our health, or if we want to maintain. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of a different perspective. But if you have any other questions about nutrition, wellness, lifestyle habits, things like that you want me to cover, please reach out. You can reach me at Ali, A-L-I, at parksidenutrition.com. Send me an email there or reach out over social media. Don't forget to subscribe to the Free Shit Friday email list at parksidenutrition.com/subscribe. Otherwise, I will see you in the next episode.